Carl Gustav Jung was more than just a psychoanalyst. He was a spiritual pioneer, a man who looked deeper than any of his contemporaries into the shadowy recesses of the human mind. And in those depths, he found patterns, dangerous ones. Jung didn't just study what made people healthy. He also explored what made them harmful. He warned us. Not in the language of viral videos or clickbait psychology, but in deep, archetypal truths. According to Jung, some people are not just difficult, they're dangerous. Not because they carry knives, but because they can distort our reality, drain our energy, and lead us into spiritual darkness. These people are subtle. Often charming. Sometimes even successful. But under the surface, they are ticking time bombs of psychological harm. In this video, we'll explore 7 types of toxic people Carl Jung warned us about, through his theories on archetypes, shadows, and the divided self. You'll learn how to spot them, how to protect yourself, and most importantly, how to avoid becoming one. Let's begin. 1. The shadow dweller. Jung's concept of the shadow is central to his theory of the psyche. The shadow contains everything we deny in ourselves, our flaws, instincts, and primitive impulses. But when someone doesn't confront their shadow, it doesn't just vanish. It festers. Instead of integrating it, they project it onto others. These are the shadow dwellers. People who live entirely disconnected from their own darkness, and who blame, shame, or attack others as a result. Jung said, knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darkness of other people. Shadow dwellers refuse to know their own darkness. They see enemies everywhere. And if you stay near them long enough, they'll turn you into one. They're always suspicious. Always negative. Always assuming the worst. Not because others are terrible, but because they've buried the worst parts of themselves so deep, they can only see it in others. Jung understood that without shadow integration, the psyche fragments. The person becomes hollow. Reactive. They'll never take responsibility for their faults. And in doing so, they pull you into their spiral of blame. How to spot them? Constantly blaming others for their problems. Zero self-awareness when it comes to conflict. Projects anger, jealousy, or fear onto you. How to protect yourself? Don't engage in their battles. Set firm boundaries. And above all, never try to fix them. Only they can confront their shadow. 2. The narcissist. Narcissists are not just vain. Jung believed narcissism was a symptom of deeper psychological wounds, a disconnection from the self. Instead of looking inward for meaning, the narcissist creates a false persona, a mask that hides their emptiness. They live for admiration, but they are terrified of intimacy. Because if you get too close, you might see the emptiness underneath. Narcissists are dangerous because they don't just want attention. They want control. They will charm you. Love bomb you. Then slowly undermine your confidence until you depend on them for your identity. They are masters of manipulation, weaponizing your empathy against you. They need others to admire them, and they'll discard you the moment you stop. How to spot them? Grandiose, but fragile egos. Constant need for admiration. Rage or withdrawal when criticized. How to protect yourself? Don't feed the mask. The moment you challenge their false self, you'll see who they really are. Then walk away. 3. The passive-aggressive saboteur. Jung believed that when people suppress their anger, it doesn't disappear, it finds another route. One of the most common. Passive aggression. These people smile at you while slowly unraveling your peace. They forget important things. They give backhanded compliments. They agree to help you, then mysteriously vanish. Their resentment leaks out through sarcasm, avoidance, and silent sabotage. They rarely fight openly, but their energy always feels like warfare. You never know what's coming. You just know something's off. How to spot them? Chronic sarcasm. Hidden resentment. Consistent failure to follow through. How to protect yourself: call out the behavior directly. Do not play their game. Either they own their emotions, or they lose access to your energy. So far, we've covered the shadow dweller, the narcissist, the passive-aggressive saboteur. But there are more. And the next type is one that can truly leave you doubting your own reality. 4. The gaslighter. Gaslighting isn't just manipulation, it's psychological warfare. Jung may not have used the term gaslighter, but he understood the mechanics behind it deeply: the fragmentation of the psyche, the distortion of truth, the splitting of reality. The gaslighter thrives on creating confusion. They lie so subtly that you start to doubt your memory, your feelings, even your sanity. It's not about being right, it's about control. They may rewrite history, deny things they've clearly said, or claim you're overreacting, just to disarm your instincts. Jung believed denying truth fractures the soul, and that's exactly what the gaslighter does, to others and to themselves. How to spot them. Frequently invalidates your emotions. Denies saying or doing things that clearly happened. Reframes their harmful actions as love or protection. How to protect yourself: document everything. Speak your truth. And get distance. You'll never win with someone who doesn't play by reality's rules. 5. The eternal victim. According to Jung, a balanced person accepts responsibility for both their inner and outer worlds. But some refuse. They remain stuck in a childlike state, always the victim, never the agent. The eternal victim isn't just unlucky, they're addicted to their suffering. Because being a victim gives them power. It absolves them of responsibility, invites sympathy, and grants them moral superiority. Jung wrote, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul." Playing the victim is one of those absurdities. These people sabotage their own growth just to maintain their narrative of helplessness. And if you stay close, they'll script you as the villain in their tragedy. How to spot them. Constantly blames the world, family, past. Rejects help but complains when none is offered. Turns every conversation into a monologue of pain. How to protect yourself: offer compassion, not solutions. If they don't want to grow, walk away. You're not a therapist. 6. The soul leech. Narrator: Jung didn't use the term energy vampire, but he warned of people who lack inner connection to self, and thus feed off others. These are the soul leeches. And they are everywhere. They're not always evil. Often, they're just unhealed. But instead of doing inner work, they drain everyone around them, emotionally, spiritually, even physically. They thrive on attention, drama, and being the center of concern. They'll keep you on the phone for hours. Show up with constant crises. Make you feel guilty for having boundaries. Image 34, vampire-like shadow figure lurking behind a smiling person. How to spot them. Constant crisis mode. Disrespects your time and energy. You feel drained after every interaction. How to protect yourself: don't get pulled into their storm. Protect your energy like it's sacred. Because it is. By now, we've explored the gaslighter, the eternal victim, the soul leech. Each of these personalities reflects what Jung called the unconscious forces at work. Forces that, when not acknowledged, take control. But we're not done yet. Because the final archetype we'll cover is the most insidious, the type that wears a saint's face but wields a tyrant's heart. 7. The spiritual narcissist. There is no mask more dangerous than that of the righteous. Jung saw clearly that people often hide their shadow, the darkest parts of themselves, behind masks of light. The spiritual narcissist is that shadow, dressed in virtue. These individuals speak of peace but provoke division. They preach humility while craving admiration. Their spirituality is not a path, they wield it like a sword to dominate, shame, or elevate themselves above others. They are obsessed with appearing enlightened. They speak in platitudes. But beneath it all lies the same drive as any narcissist: power, superiority, and self-glorification. Jung warned of identifying with the archetype of the wise man. He said this persona tempts us to think we are beyond error, that we are the truth. The spiritual narcissist falls into this trap completely. How to spot them? Claims moral or spiritual superiority. Uses guilt or shame to control others. Talks about being above human emotions like anger or sadness. How to protect yourself: don't be dazzled by their light. Watch how they treat those who disagree with them. True wisdom is humble, not showy, not coercive. Jung's final warning: integrate the shadow or be devoured by it. Jung didn't just warn us about dangerous people, he warned us about becoming one. He believed every person carries within them a shadow, the unconscious parts we deny, repress, or ignore. When we refuse to face our shadow, it doesn't disappear, it controls us from behind the scenes. That's when people lie, manipulate, become cruel or needy or narcissistic, without even knowing why. The shadow isn't evil. It's just unknown. The key is integration, owning your darkness, not letting it own you. As Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Facing your shadow is hard. It means admitting you've lied. That you've been selfish. That you're not always kind. But it's also the only way to become whole. So let's review the 7 dangerous people through the lens of Carl Jung. The manipulator, who twists the truth to gain control. The shadow projector, who accuses others of their own flaws. The inflated egoist, who confuses confidence with superiority. The gaslighter, who replaces your reality with their lies. The eternal victim, who refuses to grow. The soul leech, who drains your energy to feed their lack. The spiritual narcissist, who hides tyranny behind virtue. Each of them reflects a person who has refused to confront their own unconscious darkness. And each of them becomes dangerous precisely because they are unaware of their shadow. We're all capable of becoming any one of these people. That's what Jung tried to show us. There's no us versus them. The real war is always within. It's between who we pretend to be, and who we truly are. Healing doesn't come from avoiding the toxic. It comes from becoming aware. Protecting yourself. Setting boundaries. And most of all, doing your inner work. As Jung said, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. But pain faced honestly is transformative. The more shadow you face, the more light you carry. In the final part of this video, we'll look at how you can use Jung's tools, like shadow work, active imagination, and dream interpretation, to not only avoid dangerous people, but to evolve beyond them. Because protecting yourself isn't just about saying no to others, it's about saying yes to your authentic self. Applying Jung's teachings to your life. Now that we've uncovered the 7 dangerous archetypes Jung warned about, the question becomes, how do we protect ourselves, not just externally, but internally? How do we become the kind of person who isn't vulnerable to manipulation, projection, or self-deception? Jung believed that most suffering isn't random. It comes from the unconscious forces we refuse to acknowledge. So your first task is simple, but not easy: make the unconscious conscious. Shadow work is the practice of identifying and integrating the parts of yourself you've hidden or rejected, traits like jealousy, arrogance, rage, or fear. You can begin by asking yourself, what traits in others trigger strong reactions in me? What do I hide from others, and from myself? Where in my life am I wearing a mask? Don't shame your shadow. Embrace it. It's not your enemy, it's your roadmap to wholeness. Jung wrote, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. But that's also the beginning of real power. Tool 2, Active Imagination. Active imagination is a technique Jung developed to access the unconscious directly. You enter a meditative state, then engage in dialogue with images, voices, or dream characters that arise. Ask the inner figure, who are you? Why have you appeared? What do you want to show me? You may be surprised at the wisdom that emerges. It's not just daydreaming, it's inner alchemy. It allows you to integrate unconscious content without letting it control you. Tool 3, Dream Analysis. Jung called dreams the royal road to the unconscious. They reveal the conflicts, desires, and fears you aren't fully aware of while awake. Keep a dream journal. Write everything you remember the moment you wake up. Over time, you'll spot symbols, patterns, even visitations from your shadow. Ask yourself, what part of me does each dream character represent? What am I avoiding or longing for? What wisdom is this dream offering? Living the individuated life. Jung called the ultimate goal of life individuation, the process of becoming your true, whole self. Not perfect. Not always happy. But real. To individuate is to walk a path that's uniquely yours. To stop outsourcing your identity to culture, family, or influencers. It means finding meaning in your suffering, and direction in your confusion. Every trial, every toxic person, every mistake, they are part of the story. Part of what makes your journey authentic. Final words from Carl Jung. Let's end with a few words from Jung himself. Not just quotes, but reminders to carry into your daily life. Your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart. Who looks outside, dreams, who looks inside, awakens. Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darknesses of other people. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. This video isn't just a warning, it's a call. A call to wake up. To examine your own inner life. To stop being prey, or predator. And to start being whole. If this message resonated, there's more where it came from. Subscribe for more insights from Jung, philosophy, and psychology. Leave a comment, which archetype have you encountered? And most importantly, keep doing your inner work. Because in the end, your peace doesn't come from avoiding dark people. It comes from knowing the light and the dark within yourself. Until next time, stay conscious. Stay grounded. Stay real.